There's all this talk about sort of New York City and as a sort of tech center. How have you found, like, do you think it's been helpful being in New York, or?
Yeah, I mean, people ask all the time, like, why didn't you guys, start the company in California, or when are you going to move to San Francisco? And it's just, I mean, that's not in the roadmap. Like, we're from New York, and we wanted to start it here. And actually, I think the product is better because it's in New York. Because I feel like San Francisco is such like a big tech hub that things are, it just can feel very early adopterish. And you can have the same folks that are out here, but they don't all work in technology. Like our early group of Foursquare beta testers were, people in media and, and authors and musicians and people in fashion and people in finance. And, I think we got more real feedback and like more ideas about, oh, how could the publishing industry use this? How could fashion use this? Than we would have otherwise, just because of the diversity here.
What about, like, people always say it's like so hard to hire engineers here, and
yeah.
I mean, have you found that to be? I mean, my own anecdotal experience is it's hard to hire engineers everywhere.
Everywhere, yeah. I mean, there might be a smaller. There is a smaller pool of them here, but there's also not as many startups as there are out west. Yeah. I think Google changed a lot of that when they opened the engineering office here in New York a bunch of years ago. Like, they went out and hired 2,000 engineers when people didn't think you could do that.
Originally the story I heard was that they were like, if Larry and Sergey were like, if you can find 8 engineers, you can keep the office, and then now they have 1,000 or 2,000 or whatever.
Yeah, it's like huge, right? And so, I think for a lot of people that a lot of people with computer science, like CS backgrounds, like the choices were, you work at a big research firm, like like AT&T or IBM, or you work in finance, and there wasn't really a spot for consumer internet, especially after the crash. And I think Google showed that was wrong. Like, you could come and work in Google and work on like interesting projects and like big time with big exposure. Yeah. And I think that's been helpful for the startup scene in general.
And then so there was all this like talk about you kind of like the fundraising and this kind of stuff. How can you talk a little bit about that, like
with the latest round?
Well, yeah, I guess there's I don't even know, but there's rumors of a new round, but then there's like there was like the last round, there was all this drama around it.
Yeah, it's funny because like everyone's watching us so closely. For us, it's all about trying to, it goes back to that idea of like we have these things in our head and we just want to get them built. Right? Yeah. So we're trying to do, make the moves that put the company in the best position just to be able to do the things that we want to do. Yeah. And build the team that lets us build the things that we want to push back out to users. So sometimes it's if it's fundraising, like we pursued or like we talked to people about acquisition back in the day, and then we just ultimately decided like, hey, we should just continue working on this because I think what we're doing and like the kernel of like the Foursquare culture and the ideas is different than everything else that's out there, and we should kind of ride this as far as we can and see where we can take it.
So you're like 50 people now?
Yeah, so 50 people.
How's that been, that process of kind of going from 2 to 50? And
yeah, I think that's the hardest thing that we've had to do as a company. Like, I think because a lot of us have been thinking about the problems and the opportunity, like the products that we've created. We've been thinking about that stuff for so long that comes easy. Like, the hard part is building the machine that builds the products, right? And the machine being the company. So, we spent all of last year just like scaling everything, like moving to new office space, like trying to get enough seats for people to sit in, like hiring 5 to for 50 people, and like building the back end that supported like from 100,000 users to 6 million users. So like we did a lot last year, but a lot of it was just behind the scenes. And I feel like this is our year to build all the stuff that we've been thinking about. Now that we have the people, now that we have like the technical infrastructure and like all the room to grow, we can just push product out.